أفلح من صلى على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، والصلاة والسلام على الرسول المبعوث رحمة للعالمين وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, and with praise and peace upon our raised Prophet, a mercy to the world and his pure progeny, respected scholars, respected guests, respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. On behalf of the Al-Rasool Islamic Center, Sayid Jawad, TMA UFT St. George, TMA York, and TMA Toronto Metropolitan University, we congratulate the Islamic Ummah on the birth of the one raised by al-Baneen, the moon of Bani Hashim, and the love of Hussein, Abul Fathl Al-Abbas alayhi salam. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And in doing so, we would like to welcome you all to the second night of 3 in our Mawlid Al-Aqmar celebration. To start our program today, verses of the Holy Quran delighting our ears and purifying our intentions, please help me in welcoming Brother Muntazir Barwani to the podium with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ياسين والقرآن الحكيم إنك لمن المرسلين على صراط مستقيم. تنزيل العزيز الرحيم لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباؤهم فهم غافلون. لقد حق القول على أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون. إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم مقمحون. وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون. وسواء عليهم أنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون. إنما تنذر من اتبع الذكر وخشي الرحمن بالغيب فبشره بمغفرة وأجر كريم. إنا نحن نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين. واضرب لهم مثلا أصحاب القرية إذ جاءها المرسلون إذ أرسلنا إليهم 2 فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون. قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون. قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين. قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب أليم. قالوا طائركم معكم أئن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون. وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون. وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون. أتخذ من دونه آلهة إن يردن الرحمن بضر لا تغني عني شفاعتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون. إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين. إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون. قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفر لي ربي وجعلني من المكرمين. وما أنزلنا على قومه من بعده من جند من السماء وما كنا منزلين. إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم خامدون. يا حسرة على العباد ما يأتيهم من رسول إلا كانوا به يستهزئون. ألم يروا كم أهلكنا قبلهم من القرون أنهم إليهم لا يرجعون. وإن كل لما جميع لدينا محضرون. وآية لهم الأرض الميتة وأحييناها وأخرجنا منها حبا فمنه يأكلون. وجعلنا فيها جنات من نخيل وأعناب وفجرنا فيها من العيون ليأكلوا من ثمره وما عملته أيديهم أفلا يشكرون. سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون. وآية لهم الليل نسلخ منه النهار فإذا هم مظلمون. والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم. والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالعرجون الكديم. لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون. وآية لهم أنا حملنا ذريتهم في الفلك المشحون وخلقنا لهم من مثله ما يركبون. وإن نشأ نغرقهم فلا صريخ لهم ولا هم ينقذون إلا رحمة منا ومتاعا إلى حين. وإذا قيل لهم اتقوا ما بين أيديكم وما خلفكم لعلكم ترحمون. وما تأتيهم من آية من آيات ربهم إلا كانوا عنها معرضين. وإذا قيل لهم أنفقوا مما رزقكم الله قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا ونطعم من لو يشاء الله وطعمه إن كنتم إلا في ضلال مبين. ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين. ما ينظرون إلا صيحة واحدة تأخذهم وهم يخصمون فلا يستطيعون توصية ولا إلى أهلهم يرجعون. ونفخ في الصور فإذا هم من الأجداث إلى ربهم ينسلون. قالوا يا ويلنا من بعثنا من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون إن أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون هم وأزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون سلام قولا من رب رحيم وامتازوا اليوم أيها المجرمون ألم أعهد إليكم يا بني آدم ألا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين وأن اعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم ولقد أضل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون اصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون ولو نشاء لطمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مضيا ولا يرجعون ومن نعمره ننكسه في الخلق فلا يعقلون وما علمناه الشعر وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا نعما فهم لها مالكون وذللناها لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند محضرون فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون أولم ير الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحييها الذي أنشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون آمنا بالله صدق الله العلي العظيم
Thank you, Brother Muntazir, for that mesmerizing recitation. Jazakallah khair. He is Abbas we speak of, the child raised by Ali, the teen raised by Hassan. and the man who grew up to be alongside Hussein. This is Abbas, sacrifice, loyalty, obedience, and the perfect child. And Ali from a young age had told him that one day you'll grow up to pay the ultimate sacrifice, but you don't understand it at this time. And when that day came, he did not let Hussein down. That is Abbas. That is Qamar Bani Hashim. Joining us for our next segment is a poet known by the Shia world for his eloquence in speech and ground-shaking poetry. A poet and a recognized filmmaker, all the way from London, England, who resides in Detroit, Michigan. Brother Nouri Sardar, Brother Nouri focuses much of his attention and diligence on depicting the Ahl al-Bayt in his unique poetry and writing styles. In doing so, talent as such has allowed him to publish multiple books and multiple poems used and recited by many eulogy reciters. Please help me in welcoming Brother Nouri Sardar to the podium with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
صلى على محمد وآل محمد. It's a prayer, and from this prayer don't ever depart. It's a prayer, and from this prayer don't ever depart. It is life for the tongue and for the heart. Protection from all sorrow and all hurt. My friend, recite it and you shall be rewarded. With it, mountains of sin are eroded. With it, fires of hell are avoided. And in the heavens you'll be delighted. Both prophets and messengers have recited and have said, Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. It's a prayer that you can wear like armor. Medicine, only so much more sweeter. Recited by no hypocrite ever. A scent that is the scent of majalis, so pure that it can make the tongue sinless. When it is recited by the hopeless, Allah makes their heart peaceful and joyous. It takes away distress, and by it we shall be guided. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. It is hung from branches within heaven, blessed to us not unlike revelation. Recite it and you'll see heaven's doors open to those that seek guidance within their lives, to those who for greatness and success they strive. Turn to Allah, Lord of the Holy Five. Cry out your sorrows and you shall feel alive. Allah will come to your aid. His hand to you He will lend. When Salla ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Just reflect of the meaning of this blessing. Contemplate on what the hadith are saying. Remember that wilaya is everything. Without Allah, there is no religion. Bless Him, and after Him bless His children. Without Ali, there is no religion. Bless him, and after him bless his children. After you've prayed for Hussein and Hassan, then plead Allah for their intercession. Those who recite this blessing to the heavens, they shall ascend. Salla ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Salawats deep within my heart I carry. Every day I am thinking of this family. For Mahdi, I was waiting, and I am ready. So I say, O world, let my love on his heart settle. Daily, for his fragrance we all wail. A name whose mention makes the heart humble. A love like gardens, serene and blissful. Those that ignore him are lost. By his hand, may we be fed. Salla ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I think that deserves a louder salawat. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And give me one more salawat in honor of Al-Abbas. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وآل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. Today, inshallah, we are here to remember one of the great servants of Imam Hussein, the greatest servant of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, his half-brother, Abu Fathl Al-Abbas alayhi salam. And for all those here who I'm sure have a love of the day of Ashura and a love of Imam Hussein alayhi salam and a love of Karbala in their heart, there is a special place for this great man, Abu Fathl Al-Abbas alayhi salam, who we all know is the door of desires. And I'm going to recite to you some of his virtues before I recite a poem about how we can use this great door to our advantage to ask for our wishes and our desires. Salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. It begins, the poem, beneath the moon and beside the Euphrates river. You'll see that crouches the moon, thirsty within his palm's water. Beneath the moon, beside the Euphrates river, crouches the moon thirsty in his palm's water. Crouches the moon with water in his palms, ready to sip, ready to replenish the sleeping lion's power. Catches his eye, drawn in the reflection of what he holds. Water, so clear, and yet clearer is this picture. A child born for a purpose that is softly whispered into his ear by the voice of his mother. She'd tell him, when you are thirsty, O my child, when you are thirsty, O my child, and raise in your palms water, the thirst of your brother and his daughters remember. And so he throws back the water, and so he throws back the water, and the crouching moon rises up from one knee as the standard bearer, because whenever remembered is the message of Hussein, recalled as Abbas and evoked as his name. The father of virtues, the peak of valor, and to Hussein's message, the standard bearer. He is forever immortal, an undying flame. When invoked is his name, drawn upon the mind is an immortal lesson of brotherhood. Unbearable to him was his brother's thirst. It tormented him even in childhood. To find the greatness of Abbas, you may turn your gaze to Hussein's broken back as alone he stood. An immortal love that stands the test of time, and still they stand together enshrined beside shrine. And to his Safa, he stands guard and Marwa, and for Hussein's message, the standard bearer. His courage is admired, his valor adored. It surrounds his woman like a veil of zeal, one of a lion only he could contain. If Zainab walks, you would see that circles her does his horse, the custodian of the sweetest fountain. His courage is adored, while his zeal brings fear. He has the eyes of Yusuf, but with a lion's glare. What lion takes pride in guarding a flower? And to Hussein's message, the standard bearer. The eye for his figure's beauty it searches, whenever Hussein and his revolution is praised. For how can his flag fly without its bearer? By the hands of Abbas, Hussein's flag is raised. And when his flag twirls in the hands of Abbas, you'll see that the window to the soul, it watches on, amazed. He twirls it and puts his lovers in a trance, calling out, at Hussein's beauty, come and take a glance. Come and see the light of which I am the carer. And to Hussein's message, the standard bearer. The beauty of Yusuf surrenders itself to him, caresses Abbas's face, an immortal moonlight. He towers above all like a mountain of gold, protecting his sister, a pillar of height. The feathers of his helmet, they bow to his eyes to witness the moons that abide in his sight. His face lights up darkness, an angelic moon. Coupled with his height, he stands up like a beacon, a carving of gold for each admirer. And to Hussein's message, the standard bearer. The moon rests itself beside the riverbank. The moon rests itself beside the riverbank. Within his hands, the sweetest of water streams. Yet in it he sees Hussein, and he sees his daughters and boils his blood. The children's voices screams, and you'll see rise water in the hands of the moon. You'll see rise water in the hands of the moon. Return to its place, and shattered are its dreams. And so he rises up as the father of virtues. Whenever deeds want to blossom, you'll see Abbas they pursue. As he rides out, calls his name the water, and to Hussein's message, the standard bearer. You'll see that his dome glistens while bathed by an ancient sun, and he welcomes his lovers with an open door. They come feeding his thirst with a stream of tears, and for their desires Al-Abbas they implore, and not by God does he turn one away. Not by God does he turn one away. He adores his lovers just as him they adore. He lives immortal as an undying fire, and for his lovers he is adored to desire. The prince to the king of the land Karbala, and to Hussein's message, the standard bearer. He is forever immortal, an undying flame. Forever immortal, an undying flame. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. A second louder salawat, please. And one more with loudest your voices. As we know, and as I mentioned, we as the Shia of Ahlul Bayt are very lucky to have many doors to our desires and to our wishes. And one of the greatest doors, I'm sure everyone in this room knows, is the door of Al-Abbas. We know those of us who go to Ziyarah to Karbala and stand there in front of the shrine of Al-Abbas, and even here, when we're on the other side of the world and we're going through something difficult, we're going through a time that seems impossible, we have a wish or desire that we need, after we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we turn toward the door of Al-Abbas and ask him for his shafa'a and his intercession. We have hadith, rawayat, about when we travel to Karbala and visit the grave of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. It's not that we see, it's not like we see, which is a beautiful grave of gold and you see, nice, a grave inside and green cloth, but rather they say, the hadith says that if you were to see that the veils of the worlds are lifted, you will see angels, thousands of angels circling the grave, and you will see Imam Hussein himself sitting there, and he is answering all the lovers that come to him, giving them wishes. So next time you go to ziyarah, understand what's in front of you. And the same is for Al-Abbas. It's as if he's sitting there, his soul, ready to receive his lovers and speak to them about their desires and their hawaj. So the next time you're standing in front of the grave of Abbas and you're speaking to him about the sorrows in your life, you're speaking about the hardships in your life, you're telling him there's something that's bothering you, don't think that you're speaking to a grave or a person who's long gone. Rather, you're speaking to someone sitting in front of you, listening to you, because Imam Hussein is your Imam, and he is, the brother of your Imam. He is your guardian, just like he was the guardian of Sayyidah Zainab and the children, alayhi salam. And it's here, I speak from the perspective of Al-Abbas alayhi salam to those here in the audience that might have desires, that might have wishes, and might be in a state of despair. As he says, don't despair. I may not have my hands, but know that I am here, and I am holding onto your hands. He says, don't despair. I may not have my hands, but I am here, and I am holding onto your hands. You can find hope when all fails. Where? In the hands of Abu Fathl. When the world, he says, brings you to your knees, and in an ocean of worries you suffocate. When you're suffering all alone, with grief more painful than broken bone, and hope cannot wait, know that there is a place where exists hope. Its journey is short, level its slope, knock on its gate. To ensure that despair does not last, Allah put hope in Abu Fathl Abbas. Allah is great. Knock his door and cry, Allahu Akbar. Allah made me poor and made great the flag bearer. Generosity from its cradle can be found in the hands of Abu Fathl. Yes, Allah did create despair. Yes, Allah did create despair, but like there is ocean, yet there is air. He made a door open when all are closed. Open since Khaybar's door was opened, a door of cure. Everything has an opposite. Everything has an opposite. When there is grief, Abbas knows it. That's what he's for. When being asked, he is there, granting wishes, soothing despair, granting wishes and soothing despair, and so much more. He stands tall for the lovers of Hussein. Idols may fall, but Abbas still remains. He is heavenly hope for those in hell. He says, I am the son of the sole one who stood by Muhammad when all ran. This is our worth. The sons of Ali do not return. Any who come with dreams they yearn. This is our oath. We don't shudder for even a moment. We don't shudder for even a moment. We seek out what is difficult and we call it forth. When once my hands Karbala would yearn, my right and my left, they fought between them, so I gave it both. The two feathers on my helmet, they yearn to become birds and fly toward those in need. Can one know me and still be frail? So if you have children who are ill, or parents not long for this world, call out for Abbas. If you have children who are ill, or parents not long for this world, for Abbas call. He says, my prayer is like no other prayer. When I call out, Allah He hears and He grants me all. Do not doubt me, Abu Fathl. Do not doubt me, Abu Fathl. I make the difficult possible. Bring me trials. When I raise up my handless arms, Allah Himself tells me salam, Abu Fathl. When I raise up my handless arms, Allah Himself tells me salam, Abu Fathl. And do not fear if it's not meant to be. Allah hears, and through me even better He will bring. Through me even better He will bring. There is a door to Allah's will in the hands of Abu Fathl. He says, I am not the son of Haydar. If I don't mend the hearts of my Shia that are broken, I'm no son of al-Banin. If I don't soothe those who from pain are left shaken, I have no hand, but take my arm. I have no hand, but take my arm. Show me your pain. Clench to it tightly with your palm. Show me your pain. We'll fight through it. I'll lead the way. It will be hard, but keep your head high until we've won. When my head was raised on a spear, no one would dread, because high it would appear. The height of virtue and morals can be found in the hands of Abu Fathl. He says, together we'll fight through your pain. Just promise me, when it's been slain, we'll mourn Hussein. Because if you are alone or you are thirsty, know that Hussein died a stranger while thirsty, his child slain. If you are alone or you are lonely, know that he died a stranger while thirsty with his child slain. In his arm, he held his infant. In his arm, he held his infant with no water to provide him, and he'd complain. As even his enemy cried, he threw Asghar's blood toward the sky, and blood it would rain. All trials were made to recall his. So strike your chest, and I'll strike mine handless. The revival of his tale can be found in the hands of Abu Fathl. So don't despair. Don't despair. I may not have my hands, but I'm here holding onto your hands. Don't despair. I may not have my hands, but I'm here holding onto your hands. You can find hope when all fails in the hands of Abu Fathl. You can find hope when all fails in the hands of Abu Fathl. Salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. I don't know if is the Sayid here or not, brother Mehdi. Sayid here? No? Yes? No? Thumbs up, thumbs down? No? Where's Sayid? I've finished. What's going on? Yalla, salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. He who seeks to find the valor of men, you'll see it in a hero drawn with courage's pen. Blood that's incapable of fear. The lions shake when they hear the angry as Hussein's lion. He who seized king's heartbeats just with his frown. His glare, it broke through both armor and gown. He'd not sit, he would kneel, just in case danger he would feel, and he would pounce like a loyal dragon. Who raised him, this unshakable mountain? Which milk made him admired by the lion? Angels adored his smile. Beauties embarrassed while walking is the moon of Hashim. Cautious was every man that sat down beside this saint, for with him came with his fueled fury, no restraint. Danger, weary of his friends, even danger feared his trends. A head hot had this guardian. Know that the moon itself is jealous to call him handsome. Know that the moon itself is jealous to call him handsome. It begs men's gaze when perched above his dome. Yet Abbas from the cradle, with this moon he would wrestle and blush in failure with this moon. Even the stars they hide above his shrine, as never would his eyesight with them align. Because beauty does not know them when Abbas is below them. Gaze at awe in him, gaze at awe of him, do even our children. This is Abbas, our champion. This is Abbas, our champion. Salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Yeah, I'm going to recite one more poem, inshallah, just a very short one, because the Sayyid's belay. Salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So inshallah together, even though we are here in Toronto, Canada, where it's very cold, as we know, inshallah together we are going to go quickly and very briefly to the shrine of Imam Ali alayhi salam in Najaf. Because we all know that us as Shia, one things we long for is to do ziyarah of Najaf and to stand in the shrine of Imam alayhi salam. So take your eyes away from me and come with me. Let's together, our souls collectively go to the land of Najaf, where we say, Assalamu alaykum ya Amir al-Mu'mineen. I came to Najaf in searching of the prince, because for too long tortured me has Ali's absence. I came to Najaf in searching of the prince, because for too long tortured me has Ali's absence. I came to the land of zeal and honor, the kingdom where Ali is the king and the leader, where every man says in his pride that my prince is Haydar, and all are in awe of Ali's brilliance. I returned, missing the scent of Najaf's dust, air that quenches the lover of Ali's thirst, the thirst to see Ali. Into tears I burst. How long I have longed for my beloved's presence. I came greeted as if I was family, as the tears in my eyes cried out finally, a stranger welcomed by the sons of Ali. A stranger welcomed by the sons of Ali, as Najaf perfumed me within Ali's fragrance. I came bringing the tears within which I drowned. I've walked in the desert and water I have found. I was a servant, now a king I've been crowned. Lost, but with the Prince Ali I found guidance. Broken, I stood alone at the lion's door. Broken, I stood alone at the lion's door. The Prince of believers my eye would adore, and in the love of Ali my tears would pour, and I'd speak to my beloved in words of silence, and I'd tell him, you're in my heart, but from my eyes you're absent. You're in my heart, but from my eyes you're absent. My eyes, they dream of seeing your grave and they lament. When I'm in Najaf, tortures me every moment. When I'm in Najaf, I cherish every moment. When I'm in Najaf, I cherish every moment. Because when I leave Najaf, I find that I'm tortured by patience. Because when I leave Najaf, I find that I'm tortured by patience. Assalamu alaikum jami'an. Wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Thank you once again to Brother Nouri for delighting our ears and prolonging his poems. I promise you what he does is not easy, so help me in praising his hard work towards Ahl al-Bayt with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. That wasn't in unison. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Hussein and Abbas is the perfect tale of quality over quantity. Abbas was a stepbrother, but if no one would have told me, I would have never known. Hussein and Abbas, quality. Hussein and Abbas, practically one. Nabi Yusuf had 12 brothers. A Nabi, 12 brothers. But none compared to al-Banin's son. The Qamar of Bani Hashim. How many moons does this lonely earth have? How many moons does this lonely earth have? Only one, and that moon is Abbas. This is Abbas, this is Abbas, this is Abul Fathl Al-Abbas. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Our next segment and second of 3 lectures is the honorable guest, all the way from Houston, Texas, Sayid Jawad Qazwini. Sayid Jawad Qazwini is the grandson of Ayatollah Sayyid Murtada Qazwini, may Allah prolong his life, who is the current religious authority in the holy city of Karbala. At the age of 16, Sayid Jawad began his religious studies in California, and since then has become the lecturer that youth gravitate towards all over the internet. He's the founder of the Imam Ali Conference, which happened about a week ago, and the American Muslim Youth Network based in Houston, Texas. Please help me in the loudest of your voices in welcoming Sayid Jawad to the minbar with 3 loud salawats ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
اللهم صل على محمد. السلام عليكم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا. اللهم أرنا الطلعة الرشيدة والغرة الحميدة واكحل ناظرنا بنظرة منا إلي وعجل فرجه وسهل مخرجه واجعلنا من أنصاره وأعوانه وارزقنا رحمته ورأفته ودعاءه برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Sweeten your gathering with the remembrance of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. As a gift to the soul of Sayyidina wa Mawlana wa Azimina wa Habibi Qulubina Rasulullah, recite the second salawat. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to shower onto this gathering with His infinite mercy and compassion, and to hasten the reappearance of Sayyidina wa Mawlana Sahib al-Asri wa Zaman, recite the third salawat with the loudest of your voices. Cheryl Strayed was a young woman who lived a life of poverty. She grew up in a household full of agony. Her parents, since she was a child, had a lot of conflict. They simply could not get along. While Cheryl was still extremely young, her parents were separated. So her mother had to pick up extra shifts so that she can bring bread to the table. She had to work extra hard to sustain the family. And she says, we used to move from one small apartment to a smaller one. The kitchen supplies, she recalls, in her home, while growing up, were all purchased from the 99-cent store. So you can imagine she lived an extremely humble life. And her mom seemed to have a lot of trouble in relationships. She could not settle on one man, which played a huge role in Cheryl never being able to trust men. She despised life and what it had to offer to her. Until her mother met this man and he seemed to be decent. Period passes and they get married. This man goes out in the boonies and buys a lot of land, acreage. And she says, since my teenage years, we had to go and build out what we called home years later. Out in the sticks, they would drive every weekend, every holiday, during summers, and work as a family to build the small home and a farm which they moved into years later. By the time Cheryl was 20 years old, they moved into this new home, out in the sticks. And it was time for Cheryl to apply to college. She applied to college. She was the very first person from her family to step foot on the soil of a college campus. But yet, things were looking much better for her and her family. Now they had a home. Her mom did not need to work anymore. 2-3 semesters within her going to college, her mom decides that she's going to join Cheryl. And she said, those were the best days of my life, driving with my mom to college, spending time at the library, doing homework together, laughing together. When Cheryl was about to graduate, months before her graduation, she took her 45-year-old young mother for a random checkup. And she says the doctor was looking at the results of the checkup, and he told her mother that you have what's called stage 4 cancer. She says, as soon as I heard the words stage 4 cancer, I no longer can actually pay attention to what the physician was saying. All I could think of is this a dream? Is this possible? Why is this happening to me? As soon as things start looking different for me and my family, here's my mom, my best friend, the only person that I have in this world, has cancer. And she said, I just detached myself from the conversation and what was happening. And as we drove back home, there was no exchange of words between me and my mother, and we were just crying. The doctor told her, Cheryl, your mom has 3 months. Spend 3 months with your mom. She has 3 months left in this world. And she says that the 3 months promised by the doctor ended in 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Says 3 weeks later, I was standing on top of a grave. My mother was 7 feet deep. I had lost everything. So I went to my stepfather and I said to him, you know, I don't have anyone. I hope you're going to look after me and take care of me. She said he looked at me dead in the eye. And he said, Cheryl, I've already moved on. I'm sorry. And I want you to pick up your things and leave. She says, this was the darkest, loneliest, hardest, most miserable day of my life. Where am I going to go? What am I going to do? Who am I going to speak to? My mom is already dead. She's in the grave. Who am I going to complain to? She said, I picked up my stuff, and I went around trying to pick up a job. I couldn't stay focused. And she resorted to drugs. Before you know it, she had become a junkie. You know, sometimes we see people standing on a traffic light, begging for a coin. And some of us, we say, how stupid are those people? Why are they so miserable? They have no excuse. How could you stand out on the street, beg for pennies and coins? Go get a job. This is what we think to ourselves, right? And yeah, if we give them, a quarter or a dollar, whatever it is, it's out of sympathy and kindness. But if we were to actually go to those people and have a conversation with them, and we really should at times, we realize that they all have a story. And if we imagine ourselves in their shoes, I guarantee you we realize we wouldn't be able to make better decisions. So what do we say? Imam Ali ibn al-Hussein, Zainul Abidin, Al-Sajad, says once you see individuals like that, say, Alhamdulillah, alladhi insha' lafa'al. Thank Allah that if He desired for you to be in that position, you would. وَالَّذِي عَافَانِي مِمَّا هُوَ فِيهِ. And that He has protected me from what this man is suffering from and what this woman is suffering from. We thank Allah. So she says, one day I had overdosed on drugs. I had collapsed in a bathroom, public bathroom. I had no work. I had no home. I had no money. All I could think of was do drugs. And at a point in time, she says, I even had to sell my honor in order to get money so I can buy drugs. She says, I sat there and I thought to myself, I need to make a decision right here and right now. Do I continue this path and I'll end up dying from overdose and drugs, selling my honor and my body? Or I can own my life and I can make a change. And she said, I promised myself that I'm going to own my own life. I'm not going to let circumstance dictate to me how I should live. So I got up and I made an extremely wild decision. And the decision was that she's going to, listen to me, she's going to hike the Pacific Coast Trail, 2,800 miles. How many miles? 2,800 miles. And in that hike, I'm going to own my life. In that hike, I'm going to cleanse myself. In that hike, I'm going to put the past behind me. I'm going to start a new chapter of my life. So she got ready, she created a map, she created a plan for herself, and suddenly she met a guy. In the process of getting ready to go on that hike, she met a guy. And yes, you guessed accurately if you think that she gave up on the plan. Why? Because suddenly she started going to the movies with him, and they're laughing and enjoying their time, and she's saying, well, now I'm happy, I don't need to go on the hike anymore. The hike has come to me. The happiness has come to me. And I tell you, brothers, sisters, happiness is not something that is given to you by others. Happiness does not begin with your Romeo. Happiness does not begin with your lover. Happiness does not begin with your friends. Happiness does not begin with your Facebook likes and your Instagram followers. Happiness is something that must be within you, and you're the only one that can create happiness for yourself. And if you are in a miserable state, if somebody tries to give you happiness, you only would make them miserable too. And that's exactly what happened with this guy. She made him miserable, to a point that he became crazy. Not only she became more miserable, she also made him miserable. And she decides that, listen, I have to go back to my old plan. I have to take that hike. So she signs the divorce papers with this man that she suddenly met and married, and she took the very first step on the Pacific Coast Trail, right after she signed the divorce papers. And you can imagine, I mean, you're living out of a backpack. Many of us, alhamdulillah, we have large homes, so much furniture, so many things we don't need. And as soon as we feel, we're a little bored, we go and we buy some more stuff. This person says, I'm going to live out of a backpack. So you can imagine living out of a backpack and traveling on foot. Where do you sleep? You get attacked by animals. She describes how she ran out of water. She ran out of food. She got lost. She got attacked by animals. She describes a time where she was trying to fix her shoes and her shoes fell into the valley and she had to walk barefoot. Her feet were bleeding, full of blisters. And she says, every time I felt that misery and it was getting difficult, I said, I need to give up. Let me just give up. What is this? What am I doing? And she would remember the promise she made to herself. You can give up. You made a promise to yourself. She would get up and she would keep walking. She says, until I felt that this is it, things can't get worse than what they already are. This is months within the hike. All sorts of weird things and devastating things have happened to me. I got a phone call from her stepfather saying that they had a family horse. They love this horse. This family horse isn't doing so well, so Cheryl, maybe you want to come and check up on this horse. She says that was the only thing that would actually get me to go and visit that farm, the barn, their home. She says, I went, and this beautiful horse that had a beautiful coat and was so shiny and beautiful and energetic was shivering, full of scars, bruises, swollen, about to die. She says, I put a halter on its head. I couldn't even walk. So I called the vet. I said, please come out. You need to help me. So, well, it's Christmas time. I won't be there until another month. But describe what the horse looks like, what it's, what's happening to it. And when she describes it, the vet says, go to your neighbor, get a rifle, and put it down. This horse should not be suffering like that. Long story short, she grabs the rifle and she's put it between the ears of the horse and she's about to take the bullet and put it in the horse's skull. And she does. She takes one shot and the vet is saying, take another one, put it down, put it down. And she shoots again, and this massive horse collapses. And she's saying, then I had a complete meltdown. This was it for me. The gun was loaded. I was miserable. I felt that there was no one more miserable than I am. Why shouldn't I put the third one in my skull? Just think about this for a moment. How much can a person take from pain and agony, right? So she says, I sat there thinking to myself, should I do it? Should I not do it? Should I do it? Should I not do it? And she remembered the promise she made to herself. She remembered that promise, that you're never going to you're never going to give up. You're going to own your own life. Right? So she gets up, she gets herself back on the Pacific Coast Trail. And she finishes the journey, and it's a beautiful book. It's called The Wild by Cheryl Strayed, one of America's bestsellers, #1 on Oprah Winfrey's book list. You should all read it. And I don't want to give out the whole story. So why did I use this story to begin my lecture with tonight? You might be wondering. It's a pretty long one too. The reason being is when I read her story, I felt if the Shi'i Muslim community in the West were to have a story, it would be the story of this young woman. Story of pain, story of agony. You know, people sometimes had to take mortgages on their homes so that they can donate to a masjid being built. People had to cut down from their expenses so that they can create houses of worship for the community. A lot of the immigrants had to suffer not having a lot to spend on their kids, on their children, breaking even every month, working extra jobs, not taking vacations, so that their kids can go to school and have a comfortable life. And it was difficult for many. And it's still difficult for some. But I believe there is a group of individuals since the beginning of Islam until today, that have erased the word quit out of their dictionaries. They're unwavering. Their unshakable determination to create a good future and a better future for the religion of Islam. Since the beginning of Islam, individuals, Sahaba that surrounded Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that put their life at stake so that me and you can sit here tonight and discuss Imam Hussein and Fathl Al-Abbas, Imam Zainul Abidin, Amir al-Mu'mineen, who slept in the bed of Rasulullah, put his life in jeopardy for the sake of Islam. People who departed from their wealth completely to aid the cause of Ahlul Bayt. And people throw rocks at you. Do you know what I mean by that? Do you know what I mean when I say people throw rocks at you? Big rocks, small rocks. Sometimes it's people close to you, very close. In the name of Imam Hussein, in the name of Ahlul Bayt, they'll throw rocks at you. They'll discourage you. They'll accuse you. What do? All those rocks turn into a mountain, and when you become a mountain, that mountain is unshakable. Nobody can shake a mountain. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, Al-mu'min kal-jabal al-rasikh. A mu'min, he's like a mountain. لا تحركه العواصف. If a tornado, if a storm, if a snowstorm, rainstorm, whatever kind of storm it is, it does not shake a believer. It does not shake a mountain. Now, when we gather in a night like this to remember Al-Imam Al-Hussein and Abul Fathl Al-Abbas, what were they? They were mountains. Imagine for a moment. Now, I said the story of Cheryl Strayed and you were all touched by it, right? Now imagine, compare her to Zainab, and she becomes nothing. Her story is meaningless. Sayyida Zainab, who lost her brothers, her children, her nephews, and they were the greatest individuals that ever walked the face of the earth, and then she's taken as a captive in chains. And the head of her brother is paraded from one city to another. And they've done all this. When she gets to Sham, they stop her caravan for 3 days at the gates of Sham. Let them stay here so that they're humiliated. After the 3rd day, when she's got to be broken, she's got to be completely shattered, because there is no human being that can go through so much torture, agony, and pain and not break. And then she gets into the palace of Yazid, and Ibn Ziyad and the enemies of Allah. And the first thing is that they ask her is كيف وجدتِ صنع الله بك وبأخيك? Do you see what Allah has done to you and your brother and your family? Some people, I don't know where they get this from, that Sayyidah Zainab started crying and she had a meltdown and she started begging. You don't know Zainab. And you don't know her father Amir al-Mu'mineen. And you don't know her brother Hussein. And you don't know the wasiyya of Imam al-Hussein to Sayyidah Zainab. Ya Zainab, do not cry. لا تشقي ثوبا. Do not even weep. Remain strong, remain steadfast. And she was a lioness. Look at the line that she gives him. She says, Wallah ma ra'aytu illa. Cheryl Strait says, I want to put a bullet in my head. Sayyidah Zainab says, Ma ra'aytu illa jamila. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will expose you and expose your plan. And the name of my brother Hussein will only rise and rise. And look at it today. Where's Yazid? Where's Hussein? Where's Ibn Ziyad? Where's Zainab? The Mufti of Syria says, I was strolling around Syria, going from one commitment to another. I reached Sham, I reached Sayyidah Zainab. I saw millions of people here. What's going on? Millions of people. What are they doing here? In Syria. There's nothing special here. They told him, this is the Arba'een of Imam al-Hussein. They are here to pay tribute to Sayyidah Zainab, the representative of Imam al-Hussein. And he says, I was in the car. I told the driver, where is Muawiyah now? This is the capital of Muawiyah. Where is his son Yazid? The money given to that person in the chambers of Yazid, he stood up and he said, Al-Khalifa hadha, pointing to Yazid, Al-Khalifatu hadha, wa man aba fahada. And he took out the sword. You don't want to pay allegiance to Yazid? This is the sword. Where is Yazid today? Where is Muawiyah? And look at Zainab. Not Zainab, the 3-year-old orphan of Imam al-Hussein. And those who attribute themselves to Imam al-Hussein must also be unwavering, strong in character. The way, you know, when on the 21st of Ramadan, when they put Sayyidina wa Mawlana wa Muqtadana, Asadullah wa Asadu Rasulih, Amir al-Mu'mineen in his grave, there was a man, alayhi sima'ul anbiya. This is in the book of Kafi. He came and he gave a sermon, a eulogy for Amir al-Mu'mineen, a long eulogy. And part of that eulogy, he says, وَكَانَ أَبَا الْحَسَنْ لَا يَأْخُذُهُ فِي اللَّهِ لَوْمَةُ لَائِمٍ. Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says, the reason why I have no friends is because of adala and justice. Even his own brother, he comes to him, he says, give me more. And he says, I saw my brother, I saw the poverty on his face. And you know the story. He puts the sword in the fire and he says, Aqil, khudh. So Aqil brings, he couldn't see, Aqil couldn't see. He's trying to grab what he thought could be silver and gold, and he touches the iron of Dhul Faqar and he says, Ah! Amir al-Mu'mineen, روحي له الفداء, says, يا عقيل أتئلن من نار هيأها المخلوق للعبه وتبعثني إلى نار هيأها جبار السماوات والأرض لغضبه. You whine from this fire that I created to warm myself, and you're trying to send me to that fire that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created for His wrath and punishment? Amir al-Mu'mineen's adala was sharper than his Dhul Faqar. His justice, his equality was sharper than his Dhul Faqar. وَلَا تَأْخُذُهُ فِي اللَّهِ لَوْمَةُ لَائِمٍ. He never thought, what about the people? What will they think of me? What will they say? What about my reputation? What about my popularity? And by the way, Amir al-Mu'mineen wasn't like this only when he was a Khalifa. Rasulullah sent Imam Ali on a mission. You need to know this because this is Islamic history. That is why he is the Faruq, not the other one. He is the Faruq, the distinguisher of Haqq and Batil. When did he receive this title? Rasulullah sent him to Yemen. He collected the khums of Yemen. And people of Yemen, itini bil kisa'il yamani. What is kisa'il yamani? They had very expensive cloth made in Yemen. So he took the khums of Yemen, gold, silver, cloth, and Rasulullah said, meet me in Hajj. You know the story, right? So Amir al-Mu'mineen is heading before his companions. He wants to meet Rasulullah. So he says to his companions, you bring those goods to Rasulullah. And amongst them was Burda al-Yamaniya. Now Amir al-Mu'mineen, he arrived earlier. And then his companions arrived, let's say a day or two after him. And he saw, as we say, Araqi's bahbah. They're wearing the burdas. He gave it to him. He gave it to them to bring it. They're wearing them. So Amir al-Mu'mineen said, what are you doing? He said, Ya Ali, we didn't do anything. We're just wearing it. Now we're going to give it to Rasulullah. Stop complaining. Why are you so strict? As some people say, Islam is a religion of rahmah. Where is the rahmah? Habibi, this is saraqah. This is theft. So they went straight to Rasulullah. Ya Rasulullah, Ali, he is so strict. Why is he so strict? Rasulullah took the minbar. What did he say? What did Rasulullah say? Rasulullah says, لا تشتكوا إلي عليا. Do not complain about Ali. You don't know what it means to complain about Ali. إنه يحب الله. He loves Allah. Okay, many people love Allah. But the difference is, وَرَسُولُهُ. He loves Rasulullah. But there is a huge difference. وَيُحِبُّهُ اللَّهُ وَرَسُولَهُ. Allah loves him. Rasulullah loves him. Allah loves those who love him. Be careful with Ali. Don't complain about him. This was his adala. He was never afraid to do the right thing. You know, I don't want to read the masa'ib of the 10th of Muharram, but I want to tell you of this glimpse of the day of Ashura. They say the 20,000 enemies of Imam al-Hussein, obviously, that was during the day. And Shimr la'anahullah said, draw your swords. 20,000. They drew their swords. He said, make a reflection from the sun onto your swords towards the camp of Hussein. Allahu Akbar. Why? So that they can mentally weaken him. How can I stand in front of 20,000? Swords are drawn. Should I give up? Should I walk away? They killed my family. What is going to happen to my sister, my wife, my children? Maybe Imam al-Hussein will come back and say, okay, I'll give bay'ah. Allahu Akbar. But Imam al-Hussein, no. He was the son of Ali. He came out after they did this and he said to them, لو اجتمعت العرب لقتالي لما وليت منهم فرارا. If all the Arabs, not those 20,000, come and they draw their swords in my face, I will not give them my back. وَلَا أَفِرُّ مِنْكُمْ فِرَارَ الْعَبِيدِ. And the followers of Imam al-Hussein. The reason why we are here, brothers and sisters, to understand that if you're a follower of Imam al-Hussein, those are the qualities that you ought to have. To be strong, unwavering, صابر, محتسب, لا تأخذه في الله لومة لائم. You do not question yourself. You do not question your mission. You do not question your vision. You do not question your service to the Ahl al-Bayt, but you remain strong and steadfast, just like your masters, the Ahl al-Bayt. And amongst them, and with this I conclude, and inshallah we'll continue tomorrow, was the man that we are remembering tonight. And we remember him yesterday, today, and tomorrow, inshallah. Abul Fathl Al-Abbas, Qamaru Bani Hashim, also Babul Hawaj. Allahu Akbar. Listen to this. This is something I want you to never forget. The very first marriage in the history of Islam to create a khadim of Imam al-Hussein was the marriage of Sayyid al-Wasiyyin, Amir al-Mu'mineen. Amir al-Mu'mineen went to create a marriage for himself, so he creates a child, so that that child becomes the khadim of Imam al-Hussein. Do you know what that means? That is a grand statement. Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen's marriage with Fatima al-Kilabiyya, al-Banin, was for the sole purpose of creating sons so that they become the sacrifice for Hussein, the servants of Hussein, the khadams of Imam al-Hussein. Why? How so? 20 years after Sayyidah Fatima, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayha, had become a martyr, Aqil was old, and he would have a carpet in the Masjid of Rasulullah, and he was known as Alimul Ansab. You know, Amir al-Mu'mineen goes to Aqil, just like everyone else. By the way, this was Aqil's job. He would sit, people will come and tell him, Ya Aqil, who should I marry my son to? This boy has asked for my daughter. Should I give? Should I not give it? He would ask them, what is it that you want in this marriage? And they would tell him. So he says, marry this person. Don't marry this person. Do this. كان عالما بأنساب العرب. Amir al-Mu'mineen comes to him. He says, Ya Aqil, اختر لي من النساء. I want you to find me a wife. Now, what are the qualities of this wife? ورثت الفحولة من العرب. She inherits bravery. So Aqil says, oh my respected brother, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, usually men, when they come, they look for a wife, they want her to be obedient, good looking, this, that, good cook, other things. But this is something they look in qualities of a man for him to be brave, not a woman. Why do you need a brave woman? Are you going to send her to the battlefield? What does he say? لِتَلِدَ لِي غُلَامًا أَدَّخِرُهُ لِلشَّدَائِدِ. So that she gives me a son, and this son I will save him for the day of agony, the day of difficulty. The difficulty that will befall onto Ahl al-Bayt. So this was the very first marriage. Amir al-Mu'mineen is planning his own marriage so that a man comes from his lineage and stands in defense of Imam al-Hussein. And you all know that he pointed him towards Fatima al-Kilabiyya, or al-Kulabiyya, and she was from a lineage of brave men, extremely brave men. When they're example of bravery, right? And when this young boy was born, his mother Fatima, you all know the story. First of all, when she goes in the house of Amir al-Mu'mineen, she says to him, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, do not call me Fatima. This is what I ask of you. Amir al-Mu'mineen says, why? She says, because I don't want you calling me Fatima to remind Hassan, Hussein, Zainab and your children of their mother Fatima. This was a position. Fatima is Fatima. I am the servant of Fatima. So give me a nickname. And Amir al-Mu'mineen gave her the nickname of al-Banin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed al-Banin with 4 boys. The first one was Qamaru Bani Hashim. And she saw a dream that the moon had fallen in her lap. You know the story. And they told her that this is the birth of Abul Fathl Abbas, when he was born, the story says Abul Fathl Abbas did not open his eyes. And his brother took him, Al-Imam Al-Hussein. When his brother took him, he opened his eyes. And the last place that he closed his eyes in were also on the lap of Imam Al-Hussein. And then he took him to his father, Amir al-Mu'mineen. Amir al-Mu'mineen was very happy. He kissed him. Then he told Fatima, al-Baneen, he said, open the qimat. She opened the qimat, the wrap, and Amir al-Mu'mineen began to kiss the hands of Abul Fathl and cry. So al-Baneen says, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, is there something wrong with my son's hands? Why are you crying? And al-Baneen told Abul Fathl, you never call Hassan and Hussein brother. You call them Sayyidi wa Mawlai. They are your brothers, but they are also your masters. And they are the grandsons of Rasulullah, the sons of Rasulullah. So Abul Fathl Abbas grew up knowing that Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein are his masters, are his imams. And he did not question them. In the battle of Siffin, Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen took Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah. Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein, and Imam Hassan was one of the commanders in the battle of Siffin. Many of us don't know about the bravery of Imam al-Hassan. al-Baneen came to Amir al-Mu'mineen. She said, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, Abul Fathl is very sad. He says, my father is not taking me with the rest of my brothers. Amir al-Mu'mineen said, he's only 12 years old. How am I going to take him? He comes to him, he says, Ya Abata, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, take me, I'm ready. Amir al-Mu'mineen took him. In the battle of Siffin, there was a man who was hired and he had 5 boys. And he was given a prize money that he brings the head of Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, Hassan and Hussein. And his sons were known. They don't take sides in battle. They take the side of money. You pay me, I'll go and I do this job for you. Like a hitman. And they were ready. He came out and he started calling onto the camp of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Ya Ali, send me your best men. And he sent his first son. Amir al-Mu'mineen, look at the confidence that he has in his son. 12 years old. He says, Abbas, are you ready? Everyone was shocked. You're sending Abbas. It's his first battle. To a person that you know is one of the best warriors. So Amir al-Mu'mineen says, Ya Abbas, make sure that you cover your face. They don't see you. And the traditions say he had become the same height as his father, Amir al-Mu'mineen, at the age 12. So he went to the battlefield. He killed the first. They sent the second son. He killed the second, third, fourth, fifth. The father himself came. He said, Ya Ali, you killed my sons. And Abbas does not speak. Amir al-Mu'mineen says to him, Abbas, you remove the cover when I tell you. Because they thought, who else can do this? It has to be Ali ibn Abi Talib. Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib comes from the behind. If this is Ali, who is this man? Amir al-Mu'mineen wanted to make sure they know him. They don't forget the name of Abbas. So he says, Ya Abbas, move the cover from your face. When they saw him, right there they said, إِنَّهُ قَمَرُ بَنِي Hashim. From the illuminated face and the beauty of Abbas. So this was the first time he put his marks on the battlefield at the age 12. And until the 10th of Muharram, Sayyidi wa Mawlai, nothing changes to Imam al-Hussein. Shimr comes and he calls out, where are my nephews? Where are my nephews? So Abul Fathl ignores him. Al-Imam al-Hussein says, who is this man? كأنه الشمر. It seems that it is this, the voice of Shimr. Ya Abbas, he's calling you. Abbas says, Ya Aba Abdullah, I have nothing to do with him. He says, no, go. Go and see what he says. Now it's a command from the Imam. He has to go. So he says, all you need to do, Abbas, is walk away. And I have a letter of amnesty for you and your brothers. Take this letter of amnesty and leave Hussein. He says, قَدْ ثَكَلَتْكَ أُمُّكَ أَمَانٌ لِي وَلَا أَمَانٌ لِبْنِ فَاطِمَةَ. You give me amnesty and the son of Fatima has no amnesty? And then he goes and he tells his brothers, you have to go before me. I am worried. You go before me. That is why Al-Imam Zainul Abidin says, Inna li'ammi al-Abbas darajatan fil jannah. Listen to this, is Imam Ma'soom speaking. Inna li'ammi al-Abbas darajatan fil jannah yaghbituhu jami'u shuhada. All the martyrs in Jannah will be jealous of the position given by Allah to Abul Fathl. Why? Because in the ziyarah you read, what did Abul Fathl say? What did he have? Basira. He had the vision. He knew where his allegiance was, and there was nothing that's going to come between him, his allegiance, and his Imam. And today, brothers and sisters, we began our lecture with what? Dua al-Faraj. We also have the same responsibility towards our Imam, the 12th Imam, Ajjalallahu ta'ala faraj. We have to give him the same allegiance. And in that process, whatever difficulty we see, we must remain steadfast and strong. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Almighty, to give us the honor and the privilege to be amongst the best of the followers of the Ahlul Bayt. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us amongst the best of the defenders of the cause of Ahlul Bayt. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the visitation of Al-Imam Al-Hussein, his brother Abul Fathl Abbas, his son Al-Imam Ali ibn Al-Hussein Zainul Abidin, qariban ajila. Their shafa'ah insha'Allah in our graves and in the day of judgment. To grant us the dua of the Imam of our time. Oh Allah, give us the privilege to seek the bounties and the pleasure of the Imam of our time. Oh Allah, we gift the thawab of this majlis to the soul of all the lovers of Hussein, all the lovers of Abbas, all the lovers of the Ahlul Bayt, wherever they may be. Oh Allah, every man and woman in this majlis with a haja, give them their hajat. بحق الحسين وبحق باب الحوائج أبو الفضل العباس وبحق زين العابدين مريض كربلاء. اللهم أدخل على أهل القبور السرور. اللهم شافي وعافي كل مريض. اللهم سد فقرنا بغناك. اللهم غير سوء حالنا بحسن حالك. اللهم اقض عنا الدين وأجرنا من الفقر إنك على كل شيء قدير. وإلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات والعلماء والشهداء وخدمة الحسين نهدي جميعا ثواب سورة المباركة الفاتحة مع الصلوات.
Thank you, Sayid Jawad, for your eloquence and speech as always, and knowingly so your words have definitely impacted a lot of people in this room today. But that being said, it's still a celebration. So أفلح من صلى على محمد وآل محمد. Our second last segment today, before the Q&A session, is the joining of Brother Sayyid Haydar Al-Awadi with us today to recite a nasheed. Sayyid Haydar Al-Awadi, an Ahlul Bayt servant, as you all know, is here to recite a nasheed. So in doing that, he is not just here to recite a nasheed. He is also here to receive a response. So please help him today with his response so we can make the program beautiful today. Thank you for all that, and please help me in welcoming to the podium with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. سادتنا حضورنا رجال نساء بارك الله بكم. واليوم ميلاد الأقمار أهل البيت صلاة الله عليه وسلامهم عليه بركة الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد. أقمار 5 اعتلان، أقمار 5 اعتلان، وشلون 5 أقمار؟ أقمار 5 اعتلان، وشلون 5 أقمار من صلب حامل حمى حيدر علي الكرار، حسين الأب بمولده شمعة وضوت بالدار، وعباس شعلت مجيد وبسيف نور ونار، وسجاد بحر العلم من العلم أنهار، والأكبر بمولده، والأكبر بمولده، والأكبر من الولاد بنور القمر محتار، والقائم المنتظر، والقائم المنتظر تترقب الأنظار، يمليها قسط وعدل من يشهار البتار. يا شيعة المرتضى لل5 هالأنوار، صلوا على المصطفى وآل النبي المختار. هل فجر حبنا لابو السجاد، هل ودمعنا عليه عالوجنات، هل أريد أسأل سؤال يجوز، أريد أسأل سؤال يجوز، هل اكو خدمة تضاهي ابن الزكية؟ وحدك بدلالي الغالي الغالي، وحدك بدلالي الغالي وحدك بدلالي الغالي، وحدك بدلالي الغالي. وانا جوابك وحدك بدلالي الغالي الغالي، وحدك يا أبا عبد الله، يا أبا عبد الله، يا أبا عبد الله، وحدك بدلالي الغالي الغالي، وحدك بدلالي الغالي. أريد أسمع منك. وحدك بدلالي الغالي الغالي، وحدك بدلالي الغالي. يا أبا عبد الله، يا أبا. مختصر مفيد شخصك الوحيد، قلبي لك يريد واعترف لك أنا واعترف. مختصر مفيد شخصك الوحيد، قلبي لك يريد واعترف لك أنا واعترف. أعلن الهيام وهذا مو حرام، أعلن الهيام هذا مو حرام، حبي يا إمام أحكي بي خلاني أحكي بي. ما تفارق بالي يا الغالي يا الغالي، وحدك بدلالي. ما تفارق بالي يا الغالي يا الغالي، وحدك بدلالي يا يا أبا عبد الله، يا أبا صيح، يا أبا عبد الله، يا أبا. أعلن الهيام هذا مو حرام، أعلن الهيام هذا مو حرام، حب يا إمام أحكي بي خلاني أحكي بي. أعلن الهيام هذا مو حرام، حب يا إمام أحكي بي خلاني أحكي بي. ما تفارق بالي يا الغالي، ما تفارق بالي يا الغالي. وحدك بدلالي يا الغالي، وحدك بدلالي يا الغالي. يا أبا عبد الله، يا أبا صيح، يا أبا. أعلن الخطاب حبي مو سراب، جذره بالتراب متصل بالهادي متصل. أعلن الخطاب حبي مو سراب، جذره بالتراب متصل بالهادي متصل. خلصت شهور اوصف الشعور، ولو بعد دهور ما وصلت مرادي ما وصل. انت شي عجيب حبي لك غريب، والله يا الحبيب انت مو انت لا مو عادي انت لا. وهالعشق او حالي يا الغالي يا وحدك بدلالي يا الغالي. وحدك بدلالي يا الغالي، وحدك بدلالي يا الغالي. يا أبا عبد الله، يا صيح، يا أبا عبد الله، يا أبا. وحدك بدلالي يا الغالي يا الغالي، وحدك بدلالي. عباس بن عقد الولا سجل بطولة بكربلاء، عباس بن عقد الولا سجل بطولة. وين صوتك؟ عباس بن عقد الولا سجل بطولة. هذا الشبل من هالأسد بالخوة بس هو انفرد مثل أبد لمن وجد هالموقف بدا مسجله عباس بن عقد الول هالموقف بدا مسجله عباس بن عباس بن عقد الولا سجل بطولة بكربلاء صيح عباس بن عقد الولا سجل بطولة يلي تناشل على القمر وفي الرواية وكل خبر روح انشد عليه النار وبراسه تحلف هالملا سجل بطولة بكربلاء صيح عباس بن عقد الولا سجل بطولة بعد عباس بن عقد الولا سجل نحيي هالمحافل بأحلى هالهولة واللي لوم خلي لوم قلوا له غالي حسين ما نفرح له معقولة غالي حسين ما نفرح له معقولة اخوتي نقلب هالدنيا بميلاده نقلب هالدنيا نقلب هالدنيا بميلاده نقلب هالدنيا دنيا بميلاده نقلب هالدنيا حنين حسين وش قد شايل مروه حنين حسين وش قد شايل مروه وما عدنا وسيله وعلي بس هو حنين حسين وش قد شايل مروه ما عدنا وسيله وعلي بس هو ودنيا بلا يحب حسين ما تسواها اخوتها بوجود الدنيا شمحلاها بالدنيا بوجود الدنيا شمحلاها بوجود الدنيا شمحلاها بوجود الدنيا شمحلاها بوجود الدنيا شمحلاها انولد لام الوفا مولود ما منه وكذب مثله بعد نسوان جاب لنا قمر عباس حتى هناك بالجنة اخوتها والجنة تبوسه من جفوفه والجنة تبوسه والجنة تبوسه من جفوفه والجنة تبوسه والجنة تبوسه من جفوفه بيت الدعاء تتشرف الجنة تبوس شف عباس تتشرف الجنة تبوس شف عباس بيه الوفا ومعنى الوفا المقياس بس بقمر هاشم صاحب النوماس هاخوتها هنيال الجنة من تبوسه هنيال الجنة هنيال الجنة من تبوسه هنيال الجنة من تبوسه ببركة الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.
Jazakallah khair, Sayyid Haidar al-Awadi, for those beautiful nasheeds. The crowd was very into it. Alhamdulillah. Now, this brings us to our last segment of tonight's program, of our 3-night program. We will be having this Q&A session with Sayid Jawad Qazwini. So inshallah, you all have your questions ready. We do have some questions from the anonymous submittal online from the Google form. So I believe we'll start with those until you guys have your questions ready, and then we can hand around a wireless mic for you guys to ask your questions. So let us begin that with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Brothers and sisters, we have a few minutes. I cannot stay long, unfortunately. I have another commitment. So we have a few questions. We have a few minutes for question and answer. And there are questions, I believe, submitted online. Alternatively, you can raise your hands. If you raise your hands, you have my attention. Okay, this brother right there. Go ahead, brother.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaykum as-salam.
So recently among the youth there's this trend of like mysticism and feel-good spirituality in comparison to actually us understanding our aqaid, our fiqh and practical actions. So for this trend, what would be your advice towards the youth like us?
Okay, so from I don't know if I understand the question completely. You're asking about whether you should go towards mysticism or aqaid?
No, as in like youth nowadays are getting, they're getting more attracted towards this more like mysticism and spirituality. We're actually trying to practice our aqidah, our understanding what religion is all about,
What's the question though?
The question is, what's your advice in this kind of situation? Like, is this the right way to go? Is there a balance between the two? Is there only one right answer for it?
Yeah, I believe that you cannot really go towards mysticism unless you know the foundations of your faith. Foundations of faith come through knowledge. If faith comes to you with emotion, it will leave with emotions. Recently you saw this social media campaign about Mahsa Amini. And I saw people burning the hijab. Same people who used to wear the hijab one day. Those people, their iman came to them with emotions. Emotions. And it was gone with emotions. By the way, I'm not judging the situation in any shape. I'm just letting you know how things unfolded. However, if your faith is stemmed with ilm, knowledge, no. Whatever happens in the world, you know that Allah is there, Rasulullah is there, the Quran is there, Ahl al-Bayt are there. Whatever happens, if I make a mistake, it does not reflect on your faith, correctly? So I believe that first step is to, just like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala began the religion of Islam, اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق. To start, and that is why Kitab al-Kafi of Shaykh al-Kulayni, our most important book, starts with Kitab al-Aql. So first you have to know Islam through the reason and rational means and understand Islam. Once you have firm understanding of Islam, then you already, if you put that knowledge and to practice it, you become mystic. You become spiritual. But spirituality also, I believe that there are different definitions of mysticism. If it is something that is taught to us by the Ahlul Bayt, it is allowed. If it's something that is not taught to us by the Ahlul Bayt, it is considered bid'ah. And bid'ah is not allowed. Second person who wants to raise their hands? Yes? Yes, sister. Ahsantum, barakallahu fikum. Thank you, thank you. Yes, absolutely. You know, some of the poets have done injustice, I believe, to Sayyidah Zainab in drawing this picture of her, you know, and obviously she cried, I'm not denying that, but for her to beg and plead and be in a miserable situation, Sayyidah Zainab was never that person. Just like her father at the peak of his calamity, when he was hit with the sword of Ibn Muljam al-Muradi la'anahullah, he says, Fustu Rabb al-Kaaba. I believe they have done a great deal of injustice. As poets, you know, sometimes you're allowed to say certain things and draw certain pictures, but then, unfortunately, those poems have become the belief of people, and that's where the problem lies. But thank you very much. Brothers, anybody wants to raise their hands?
Say, just a question from the
Yes.
anonymous questions. So this one is pertaining to the lecture today and experiencing loneliness. When experiencing loneliness, it's easy to try to fill the void by spending lots of time on social media. There's people who use music and other forms of media to try and escape the loneliness. How do you stop partaking in these habits and instead use loneliness as a way to get closer to Allah?
You weren't listening to the lecture today. The lecture yesterday was about loneliness. Today wasn't. Caught him red-handed, our MC. I believe that, again, it's something that stems from the inside. You have to fix the inside. Once you fix your inside with yourself, you can be all alone, all by yourself, and you enjoy your time, and you enjoy that time spent with yourself. I don't know if we even understand what that means, to spend time alone with yourself. That's very precious. And with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your creator. But you have to fix the inside. If you're in need to have fun and to seek validity from elsewhere, so constantly you have to be around your friends and your this and that, then you're not okay from the inside. Once you fix that issue, you'll be able to spend time alone, time with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I believe that has to do a lot with confidence as well. So we have to work on our confidence. We have to work on how we define masculinity, femininity. Who's a man? What defines a man? What defines a woman? Because today the world defines a woman differently than the definition of how God created woman to be and how she's going to end up being happy, you know. A woman's happiness, I don't believe, comes if she's a CEO of a company fighting other men and trying to prove herself, right? Similarly, if a man starts dressing like a woman, he probably wouldn't find happiness, but something else. So, you know, things have changed, and we have to really look for our own happiness, not how society defines things for us, you know. I see a lot of people going through a lot of debt just to drive a particular car. Why? Why are you doing this to yourself? Relax. Instead, take a vacation, spend some more time with your family, enjoy life. What are you doing so that people can enjoy looking at the car you're driving? What good does it do for you? You know, I particularly once sat in the G-Wagon. You all know what the G-Wagon is, right? Of course. And I always thought this was a cool car until I sat in it. And it's really a wagon. It feels like a wagon. And I told this brother, I said, out of all those cars, you spend so much money buying this car? And it's so uncomfortable. He said, Sayid, it looks good. So you're sitting in a car you don't like, you spend so much money, you're not comfortable just because it looks good? That's when you're doing things not for your own happiness. And of course, when things become commercialized, they make you feel like if you're in this car, then you'll be like a top G. You don't have to be in that car, right? So a lot of us also do the same thing. You know, we make decisions based on what we think will bring us happiness, because we'll get more respect if we do this, if we act this way, if we wear this, if we say this. Even a lot of youth, the way they speak, he knows this is not the way that he should speak, but he speaks that way to fit in, so that he can seek acceptance and validity from his friends. Even us, the followers of Ahl al-Bayt, you know, a lot of people ask you, are you Sunni, Shia? They say, I'm Muslim. I'm with that. If you're, you know, talking about unity, but don't be apologetic. Don't be scared that, oh, if I say Shia, they're going to accuse me or not be my friend, or they're going to walk away from me. Don't be an apologetic Shia. Say, I am a proud Shia of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Right? So, I believe once we fix the inside, once we believe in ourselves and we have confidence in ourselves, confidence plays a huge role for men and women. But confidence comes differently for men and differently for women. And we live in a society that shames you for how you look, how God created you. How are you going to change that? So that's why you find that today millions of dollars are spent, probably trillions actually, for people to change the way they look so they seek validity and acceptance. Versus if I think those millions of dollars were spent on books and education and morals and ethics, then people fall in love with your character and then your looks become secondary. But if the looks are the first thing that attracts someone to you, there's always going to be more beautiful people out there. Today you could be beautiful, tomorrow someone else is more beautiful than you. And then what, that person is going to go to the next most beautiful thing and neglect you and abandon you. So confidence is major. Confidence is important. How do you gain confidence? Not through social media. Trust me. I know people that have many followers on social media and they lack confidence. And you could see that. You could see when people, especially that have, you know, influencer status on TikTok, they spend probably 4 hours of time putting on makeup before they go behind the camera. Why? Because people are going to follow them because of their makeup, because of how they look, because of the appearance they have. If they sat there without makeup and were able to become influencers with millions of followers, I say this person has confidence because they have something to say. Because people give their ears, not eyes to them. Right? Don't fall into the trap of letting people follow you because of the way you look. But let them follow you because of your message, because of your stance, because of your ilm, because you have something to offer people. Anybody else wants to raise their hands? No?
We have a lot of answers.
Okay, we'll take 2
questions
more.
that are coming now. So speaking of makeup, we have a question that says, is light makeup that just covers acne/blemishes and doesn't change anything else except making something look like normal skin color permitted?
Yes. According to our ulama, normalization is okay because it's not considered beautification. So let's say tomorrow you have something and you have a pimple, a zit. You can cover it. It's not a problem. That is not, it is accepted by our ulama. That is not considered makeup. Also, very light makeup where it does not, I wouldn't know. If I saw a woman with that light makeup, I wouldn't know she's wearing makeup, basically. It's not seductive. But makeup in itself is not haram. As long as you put the makeup, you have to cover it because it's zina. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says a woman must cover her zina. So she can put all the makeup she wants, but as long as it's covered. Does that answer your questions? The question of the sister, ask them anonymously, see if that does. But yes, to answer your, very basic question, yes, covering with, blemish or pimples or zits or whatever is going on, that's okay. Or you, for example, you have, let's say you didn't sleep the night before and you have, what is it called? Huh? Dark circles or whatever, that's okay as well.
Okay, so this question.
There's a sister, raise her hands. Huh? No? I was misinformed. Okay. No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, is it ever too late to repent?
No. It's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a hadith Qudsi says to Rasulullah that tell people to repent. But we never know what too late means, because how do I know if I'm alive in the next hour? As long as you repent before the soul departs, or what we call the mu'ayana, when we see the malakul maut. Sometimes we see malakul maut for days. He's hovering over us, yes. حَتَّى إِذَا بَلَغَتِ الْحُلْقُومِ. Another one says, حَتَّى إِذَا بَلَغَتِ التَّرَاقِي وَقِيلَ مَنْ رَاقٍ. In that moment where you cannot speak, the soul is here, you see but you cannot speak. And that's when people probably go to the ICU. That's when people say, okay, is this person, he's still alive, she's still alive, but they cannot speak. They see Malakul Maut hovering over them. Before that time, Tawbah is accepted. But the problem is we don't know when that is. And procrastinating Tawbah, we know from the hadith, leads to lack of Tawbah.
So we have another anonymous question. This anonymous person says, Salaam alaikum, Sayyid. And then they say, we have heard that the A'imma alayhi salam said that we may intercede on the day of judgment, but prepare for barzakh yourself. So what are the a'mal for getting relief in barzakh?
No, that's such hadith, at least I don't know if it's there or not. The hadith is in Bukhari and Muslim from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam that says, حُبِّي وَحُبْ آل بَيْتِ يَنْفَعُ فِي مَوَاطِنَ عَدَّةٍ عند المعاينة معاينة ملك الموت وفي القبر وفي الحشر وعند تطاير الكتب. So the love of Ahlul Bayt, the Shafa' of Al-Muhammad will come to you in all those places. When you see Malakul Maut, the first night of your grave, on the Sirat, and when they give you the book of A'mal. And we have many hadiths that, when we are placed in our graves, our salah comes to help us, and it can't. Our siyam, our hajj, our zakat, our this, that. And then we see a beautiful existence, and we see, who is this person that is so beautiful and seems like someone who can help me? And that person is the wilayah of Ali ibn Abi Talib, resembled in a man that will come and inshallah aid the lovers of Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi and the A'imma min waldih. However, that does not mean we should not prepare for all those stages. For Malak al-Maut, for the Barzakh, for the Hisab, for Sirat, for all those stages. Those are, I believe, two different things. It doesn't mean that if I just pass the Sirat and I get the Shafa'ah, I don't need, to have good righteous a'mal. فَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَهُ وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ شَرًّا يَرَهُ. And there's no exceptions. Everyone will see what they have done. Last question.
Okay, so the last question we have here, it says, Salaamu alaikum. Would you be able to give us a brief history about the daughters of Imam Ali alayhi salam?
There is no really brief history in regards to the daughters of Amir al-Mu'mineen. However, I believe the most, first of all, there's so many I don't even know their names. Amir al-Mu'mineen had many daughters after Fatimah al-Zahra, after his multiple marriages, after Fatimah al-Zahra up until Sayyidah al-Baneen, which was his last marriage, permanent marriage. Amir al-Mu'mineen had many daughters. Many of them were even present in Karbala and some of them were not. But, I have examined a few of them, one of them being the one who, there's a controversy, misconception that she married the second Khalifa Umar, Kulthum. Did she marry him? Did she not marry him? And I have responded to that. from a historical account that it was impossible for Amir al-Mu'mineen. Not impossible for him to marry his daughter, but impossible with an age difference and a huge, other obstacles that came in the way of them claiming that Imam Ali married his daughter to Umar ibn al-Khattab.
Hassan, Sayed. Thank you to the brothers and sisters for the questions and everything they sent in, and thank you to Sayid Jawad Qazwini for his beautiful answers. That concludes tonight's program, and inshallah we will see you all tomorrow. But before we go, we have a couple announcements before dinner is served, of course. So the first is that there is the mental health conference on Sunday at the AYC, the Afghan Islamic Community Center. That is down the road, I believe 22 Hobson Avenue or something like that. They're right here down the road. For that, you will have to buy tickets, so please do if you'd like so. They have a nice lineup of scholars and guests. As well, they have raffles and prizes and all that type of stuff. And then on March 11th, there is the Hussein Ark Youth Day at the JCC in the Marhaba Banquet Hall. And that also requires tickets to be bought if you'd like to attend that. A lot of the groups collaborating with them will be there. So we hope to see you all there, and inshallah you could join them in that celebration. And with that, we end our program today. I would like to invite you all to help yourselves with dinner. It will be at the respected ends for the males and females. And with that being said, we will see you all tomorrow, and I hope you guys were listening because there's a Kahoot and prizes tomorrow. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.